Apologies for starting a little late. We're just having some issues with the sound, which now seems to be resolved. So I'll jump straight in and start today's webinar. Going to be keeping it quite basic today. Over the next 20 minutes, half an hour, literally just showing you simple things: how to create a group, how to push a text out, how to build a database, and then show you some reporting analytics that sit behind those outbound messages. We do run a series of webinars. There's lots of functionality within the system which is designed to help our customers get better response rates and interaction with their customers. So watch out for future events where we can go through that core functionality. So as I say, just starting on the basics today. What I am going to do is I'm just going to start by giving you a bit of an overview of Textlocal, especially for the new sign-ups amongst us today. We've been in operation around about 10 years now. Started as a bedroom sign-up, spiraled out of all control now to the point where we're working pretty much in most sectors, working with just over 100,000 businesses, ranging from one-man bands right through to sort of large multinational businesses. Naturally, we showcase the multinational. We work with the likes of Domino's, Pizza Hut, Google, IBM, Shell. The list goes on. But don't be fazed by that. The business was founded on the small business and very much continues to do so. The platform itself is an online solution. It's run completely through our website. There's no software to download. There's no contract. There's no tie-in. We appreciate as a business you may not communicate with your customers 365 days of the year. So rest assured there's no annual or monthly fees. You'll top it up in credits. So one credit represents sort of one message. When you've logged into the system, this is the first screen that you'll see. This is a very basic home screen that literally just covers off some reporting stats over a 30-day window, such as what you might have sent, what you've received. If you've included any links into the text message, which we'll move on to later, you can see how many hits those have had. The graph's going to be populated accordingly, and we navigate around the platform using the bar at the top. You simply hover over a header, gives you a drop down, you select the relevant field, and away you go. We're going to start by creating a contact group. Now, all of our customers will provide their own data. Textlocal don't agree with spam messaging. So on that basis, you'll have your own database ready, prepared, and you'll load your data into our system. Just to give you a bit of confidence on what we do with your data, we don't prospect it for any of our own gains. We certainly practice what we preach on that front, and we don't sell it on to third parties. All of our data is stored down at Rackspace, which I believe is one of the most secure data centers in the world. If you hover over contacts and hit create group, what you'll want to do is give the group a name. So we'll call it test for the time being. Once you hit that create group button, you'll come through to this screen. So it's a perfect opportunity to say, as I said before, we've been going over that 10-year period, and we've built up some really strong working relationships with the UK Tier 1 networks now, who allow us a number of privileges. The first being the ability to push a text out from a name rather than a number. So in essence, that is me sending a text to you as Textlocal. The concept with that, if it's easy recognized, people are more likely to read that message, which in turn makes them more likely to do whatever the text is set out to achieve. We're also able to push text out within 3 to 5 seconds. And finally, we're able to personalize messages to these fields that you can see in front of you. So I said earlier that we're working in pretty much all sectors, and on that basis it's a one platform fits all solution. So you actually set your own personalized fields, which you'll see in front of you, custom 1, 2 and 3. Number, first name, last name, that's self-explanatory. I always use the example of the insurance company that maybe wants to push out all of major renewals at the same time. If they loaded the data in a way that would allow them to push the text out, hi, first name, car registration, custom 1, it's due to expire, custom 2, your renewal price is custom 3. So I'm sure you've understood what custom fields are. So I now want to show you how to get the data into that contact group. So if you hit add, paste, upload, you have 3 ways. The best practice would be to create an Excel spreadsheet. It'd be a CSV to be compatible with our platform. You'd have a column per personalized field. So if it was number, first name, last name, you'd have 3 columns and so on. You'd then simply just hit the upload button, select the file, and import the contacts in a matter of seconds. The next option you've got is the paste list. Now, I must stress this doesn't work for personalized data. It will work for numbers only, but in simple terms, it literally is you just copying the data from wherever it's held on your system and pasting into this box here and adding the numbers. And I'm sure you've all worked this one out for yourselves. You could add them in one by one. Could be quite timely if you've got lots of data. However, if you want to create a quick group or add to an existing group, it's quite handy. Now, naturally, we haven't got any data at present in this contact group. So on the basis that any of you on today's webinar don't have data or would like to add to your existing database, you can also do that through text, through what's called a keyword and shortcode. So if I hover over to receive view inboxes, I've preset in true Blue Peter style a keyword already, which I've called webinar. The concept with a keyword shortcode is you pick a word that's referable to your business or particular campaign, and it's got a number that's shorter than a traditional 11-digit number, so again, more memorable. You now ask people to text in for one of two reasons, but ultimately those two reasons have the same goal, which is to record that customer's number. The two reasons you'd ask people to text in are, you'd either run an offer or a competition, so text in to get this discount, text in to win this. You can then set autoresponders that would fire out voucher codes for them to quote at point of sale to get that discount, or a simple message with winner announced shortly. Or, if you felt like you couldn't do a discount or a competition, you could run it a little bit like ourselves, more of an organisational / informative type tool. So text in for more information about what we do. Again, you can set autoresponders that would fire back messages, and on that basis you could embed rich URLs within the text that would allow customers to click to go to pages of reference, where they could maybe download brochures, view terms and conditions, you name it really. So what you would do is you would refer to the settings tab within that particular inbox. As you can see here is the autoresponder that I was talking about. You'd literally just free type the message you want to be sent back within that box. I'm not going to go through attachments and links just yet because it steals the thunder for the outbound part of the webinar, but if you can just park that for the time being. I've talked about this service being a database builder, which it absolutely is. Add sender to a group list is really handy. If I can just put this into a live scenario now, you have somebody texting into the service, you don't have the add sender to a group list switched on. What's going to happen is the message is just going to sit on the inbox. When you come to reuse that data at a later date, what you're going to have to do then is view the inbox, export the inbox to an Excel spreadsheet, save that spreadsheet, and then load it back in as a contact group, how I showed you before. Which, okay, doesn't take long, 5 minutes at most, but you could cut down that 5 minutes by adding sender to a group list. And what I mean by this is that when the message comes in, we'll automatically strip the number from the text message and pre-add it into a contact group. So my advice on that basis is to create a blank contact group with the same name as the keyword, so you're able to tell where the data's come from ultimately in the long run, and then automatically when people text that keyword, that number is going to be put into that group. Thirdly, you're all busy people. Clearly this is an online platform. You're not going to be sat around just waiting for messages to come in. You're going to be getting on with day-to-day tasks within your businesses. So what we can say is that any message that does come into the system, we can forward it to an email of your choice, really so you can action accordingly if needs be. And you can have up to 20 emails on there if you wish. Ultimately, once this database is built, these people have opted into your database. So they've approached you, not the other way around. They now know who you are as a business. So the idea is that that data is now the low-hanging fruit. You can reuse that to your advantage with a general marketing campaign further down the line. These people are now receptive to the text, which in turn makes them more likely to do whatever the text is setting out to achieve. It's much better to do it that way. It's very tempting to go out and buy cold data. I understand that because it's much quicker. That said, you could be purchasing data that's not relevant to your target audience. So on that basis, it's always very, very difficult to get the desired response rate. I'm going to ask for audience participation at present. Throughout today's webinar, I'd love to do a live demonstration, so I can send you a text message. But as you've just seen from a contact group, I don't have any data yet. So to showcase how the keywords works and builds a database, for those of you who wish to take part, could you please text webinar to 60777? So that's literally loading in your, going to your message at the top on the toolbar, type in 60777. In the message box, literally just type in the word webinar, which is WEBINAR, and then hit the send button. I'll just take literally a 15 to 20 second break just to give everybody a chance to catch up, and then we'll move on to the next part of the demo. Okay, great. So I'm hoping for those that wish to take part, I've now had your automatic bounce back text. As you'll see, it's as we prepared it, and there is those links in there which you can interact with if you wish. Naturally, we've now loaded our database in, or we've built our database, so we're now going to want to text our customers. So if you hover over send, hit send text message, comes through to this screen here. So anybody that's within that group, you now just put a blue dot inside the circle. Everybody that's now in that group will be selected. If you hit this end arrow, that's now going to give you a drop down of everybody in the group. There may be occasions where you don't need to send a text to everybody. So rather than create sort of micro groups, you could just select from a master group. Obviously, I'm not going to do that because there's data in there. For those of you that use social media, our platform will complement social media. So in essence, 4 jobs become 1. In an ideal world, you'd have every single customer's number, but in the real world, that won't be the case. So you may have your database of numbers, but then you may have a number of followers on Facebook that you don't have numbers for. So if you've got a marketing campaign, the idea is the more people that see that, the more chance you've got of a successful campaign. If you hit the configure button and allow Textlocal access to Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, what we're saying is any message that we push out through this system, we'll replicate that onto those media sites at no cost. It'll just be posted as a status update. And as mentioned, you're just giving yourself every chance of a successful campaign there. On the right-hand side, this is where I now really start to show you the exciting functionality, what really starts to differentiate us between our competitors. So we've talked about the sender name and what that might be. I'm going to leave it as Textlocal for the time being, but what you can do is you can change that at any point just by clicking here, add in sender, and free typing what we like in there up to 11 characters. We're now ready to prepare the text message, so I'm going to show you how personalization works first. If I was to do that, not everybody's name's Andy, so that would be no good. So what I actually do is if I hit hi, insert merge fields, if you cast your mind back to how we created our contact group, you'll notice that these fields are here again. You simply just click the button, and that will then do a lookup under that section and populate it for you accordingly. You then just fill the blanks in to make the message make sense. And I'd always advise putting a call to action in. The reason being is a sender name is only a one-way communication tool. The reason being is Textlocal as a destination doesn't exist. The phone's only programmed to understand numbers. So you'd always put a call to action in so that the customer's got ample opportunity to come back to you if needs be. And now I want to just share some best practices with you. Research would suggest that an expected response rate from a mobile campaign would be around about 32%. We compare that to email at 5% and direct mail at 2.5%. The results speak for themselves. If we look at the reasons behind that, is that 97% of messages are read within the first 5 seconds. We have our mobile phone with us on average at least 16 hours of the day. But more importantly, there's no spam filter currently on a mobile. So it's actually the only communication tool in the world that we can almost guarantee that every message that we push out is at least going to get read. Email could be filtered out through spam. Emails aren't checked as regularly these days. Direct mail, I'm sure we all come home of an evening with lots of different leaflets on the doormat, generally we just pick those up and bin them. So in theory, it should just be as simple as loading your database in, pushing your text out, and waiting for your fruitful response. That said, if it was me and it was my marketing budget, I'd be wanting to make sure that actually I'm giving myself every chance of having a successful campaign and being as proactive as I possibly can. If we're pushing the text out as it is now, we're not really giving ourselves much chance of being able to be proactive because we can't really follow up on anything. We don't know how our text is perceived because we can't reply to that text message. So we're literally reliant on the customer on this basis coming back to us through the phone number or visiting us directly in store. Now, research will suggest that actually if we push out a message, only 50% of the people interested in that text will go on to purchase. So it's within our interest that actually we need to be proactive to convert more than that 50%. So how we do this is through links and attachments. If I can just give you an example so you'd all understand, if I push a text out from Textlocal and you receive that message, so you know the source of the message, you now read it. If you're interested in what the text has got to offer, your most likely thing to do would be to click the link if there was one there to interact with. If you're not interested, you will not click the link. It's as simple as that. Our reporting analytics will then give you reports on the number of the person that clicked, the mobile device, the browser, the date and time that they clicked. So now if we wanted to be a bit more tactical, we could make phone calls to the people that clicked the link. It's not a cold call, they're opted into our database, they've interacted through a text. So it's a warm lead if anything. If you didn't feel like doing phone calls or you didn't have the resource to do phone calls, you could send a second round of text messages to the people that clicked the link only. Maybe the first text was a generic warm-up type message. You glean who's interested through who's clicked, and then the second text to the clickers only has an offer on it. So they're now sat on the fence, they're interested. Is that offer that encourages them to purchase or book that appointment or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So the different types of link that we can use are all here. Now they're all completely free to use. You've got the short link option, which is literally just a reference point to your homepage on your website. You've got the page link option, which is basically you creating your own landing page within our system. It's hosted by us. It's created in this section here. You can create a simple one in a couple of minutes. It's nothing too complicated, but in essence what that's going to do is drop somebody at the page that's referable to the outbound text rather than a generic website. Those two features are great, don't get me wrong. We've been able to do that for a number of years now, and we're also trying to evolve as technology does. So what we've now done is we've developed the attachment tool, which I don't think I really need to explain to you guys, because all we've done is replicate the attachment tool from email, and it will do exactly the same thing. So if you wanted to include PDF documents, brochures, terms and conditions, movies, Excel spreadsheets, you name it, you can attach that now as a file up to the size 10 meg. We convert that to a link, but ultimately when the customer clicks that link, it would open up that page of reference, which I'm sure you'll all agree is a great functionality. It's also a perfect way around the 160 character rule. As most of you may or may not know, 160 characters is your limit for a text. With our system you can do much more than that. It will be sent as one continuous message, but we break it down into batches of 160, so therefore it could, you could go to 2, 3, 4 credits of a cost, which wouldn't be cost effective for yourselves. So what I would advise doing, if you are getting close to 160 characters, stop what you're doing, create yourself a Word document, go into chapter and verse if you really want to, and then load that in as a document and simply send somebody a one-line text. Hi Mr. Customer, please click to view your terms and conditions, your brochure, you name it. They click that link, they open up that document, it's been sent as one text message, so it keeps the cost down and maximises your return on investment. And then finally you've got the survey link. It does what it says on the tin, it can be used as a survey. Again, it's created within our system under the survey section, which you can see here. It can be one page, it could be several pages, you can have multiple choice, you can have comment boxes, you can have star ratings, date pickers, you name it, really just to engage your customers for feedback on what they think of you, products, services. That said, at the end of the day, a form's a form, so it can also be used as a data capture form. So if you were trying to drum up interest for callbacks, products, services, you could create a form that would capture those details for you. I have skimmed those functionality. I'm conscious I'm trying to keep this down to half an hour today. As I said at the beginning, we do more advanced webinars over the coming weeks, so please look out for invites there. I've pre-created a text message that will showcase each of those links that I've shown you, with the exception of the short link. The reason I didn't include the short link is purely because it's literally just a reference point to a website. In this text that you receive, you will get the survey tool and the PDF, as well as a mobile web page showcased there. As you can see, we do get a character warning letting us know that this is going into 2 texts. As this is a demonstration, I'm not so bothered by that, but in the real world you would try and trim that to 160 to keep the cost down. We can manually schedule texts, so simply by clicking this button here, we can state that the message will go out on a specific date or time. So that's quite handy if you're in a meeting this afternoon and that's prime sending time for you guys. Just whilst I'm on the subject of scheduling, another part of the system functionality-wise that we have is something that's called an API. It stands for Application Program Interface. In simple terms, what that is, it's us integrating our system with yours to enable an automatic process. So a quick example of a simple API would be a doctor's surgery. You put your doctor's appointment for Friday of next week. The receptionist there will not even touch the front end that you can see in front of you. She will record those appointment details on their own internal diary system, as she always has done. We then write some code that interacts with that system, and then the day before, our system will go in, interrogate that diary system, suck out all the information it needs, and push out an automated message to that patient reminding them of their appointment the next day. So an API can be used for a whole multitude of reasons, but in the main it's appointment reminders, delivery confirmations, data capture. So if you do have a CRM system, bear the API in mind. It's a great service and just allows this service to run in the background and allow you to focus on other mission critical projects within your business. Again, practicing what we preach, we've talked about not encouraging spam through our system. So we include a free opt-out service for all of our customers. Again, I do go into opt-outs in future webinars, so I'm just going to skim over this. But in essence, if you click that button, it will include an opt-out path for your customers to text out conveniently and hassle-free and be removed from your database. We take care of the admin side of things for you. So if you had 100 records in your database, you sent out a text and 20 people opted out. The next time you log in, you'd only have 80. We don't delete the data because it's yours to review at any time. You just simply hover over contacts, hit opt-outs, and you could view that information relatively easily in there. So we're now ready to send the text. So if we hit send message, you can see there that we always get a confirmation screen that just confirms how many messages we're sending, the cost, the nature of the text. So we then push the text out, and then anybody that's decided to take part of today's webinar even will now receive that text. If you just click the link, you will obviously be able to go through to pages of reference. So I've talked about the ability to pull reports through our system. It's not the most fanciest of things I'm going to show you today, but in my opinion one of the most important, because within this section you're able to cleanse your database and also follow up proactively through links that we've already spoken about. So the first thing I'll show you is the short link report. So if you go to reports, all reports, and then short links, here's the link that we've used previously. So you can see here that we've maybe sent the text out to one person, we've had one hit, that's 100% strike rate, so a marketeer's dream. In the real world that's not going to happen, but what it's going to allow us to do is work out a potential interest rate. What we now do is we hit the View Stats button. What this is going to do is going to give us a number of reports, first being a plotted line graph that will plot who clicked it, when they clicked it. So you can glean from that that the people that clicked almost immediately are more interested than the people that clicked a few hours later, the next day, and so on. That helps you focus on those or target those customers in sequential order. We give you a breakdown of the devices that click the link. Now, unfortunately, we cannot give you reports on people that don't click links, so we'll never be able to give you concrete information of this many people have got smartphones, this many people have got legacy phones. But what we can assume through, if we send a lot of messages out, we get a lot of hits, that suggests that we've got a lot of smartphone users, so use more links. And it also tells us that they like interacting with us that way. And we give you screen resolution information. Because you can create landing pages within the system, it helps you tailor web pages to suit certain mobile devices. What you then do is export as a CSV. Now, for data protection reasons, I clearly can't do that, but what it would do is it would transfer that information to an Excel spreadsheet where we could now pull the reports with the numbers on, so we could now follow up with phone calls or messages. The last thing I want to show you today is a delivery report. So if we go back to reports and hit groups, there's the message that we've just sent. If we were to hit the check button, which I can't do unfortunately, again for data protection, it will give us a breakdown of delivery, failed, invalid, and opt-outs. And they're not reports that we give you. These are reports, again, utilising our relationship with the networks. It's them telling us that they've delivered the message on our behalf. And clearly, if you have got invalid numbers in there, you could delete those conveniently and hassle-free. And in theory, the next time you then send a text, you've got a 100% cleansed database. That pretty much concludes everything that I wanted to show you today. As I say, it is the basics. It is a watered-down version of what the system can actually do. Happy to do one-to-one more advanced demonstrations with anybody that wishes to do so. I'll give you sort of my contact details now. Call me at any time. I'm in the office sort of 8:30 till 5, Monday to Friday. My direct dial is 01244 573 246. That number again is 01244 573 246. Alternatively, you could text Andy to 60777. That's Andy to 60777. Or finally, you've got my email address, which is simply andy.hemming, and it's spelled H-E-M for mother I-N-G, at textlocal.com, and it's text spelled in its correct format also, T-E-X-T local.com. As I say, call me or email me anytime. I'd happily go through this in more depth with you, or if you'd prefer, look out for future webinars. Before I go, we have had a couple of questions that have come through, which I just wanted to cover off before we go. So I'm not very technically minded. If I buy my first lot of credits, can someone at Textlocal help with our first send? Absolutely. We have a dedicated support team, which I head up anyway, so our role is literally hand-holding new sign-ups right through to first send, and that's covering off sort of how, a bit like what we've done today, demonstrations, educating you on the platform, sharing best practices, because bear in mind that whatever sector you guys are in, we're already working in that space. We could share some ideas with those. But also ongoing, we also have an account management team, so we offer free ongoing account management where they could offer tips and advice moving forward. So please don't think that you'd sign up and be left to it. We're always here to help and support you. Another question I've had is around costs. Situation with cost is that we're always transparent as we can with price. Generally, when we get people on board, we don't lose them. Part of the reason is that is the functionality that we offer and how easy our platform is to navigate. But our platform is that it's a sliding scale. Emphasis is the more you buy, the cheaper it becomes. That will range from 4.9p to 2.3p. It's sold in bundles from 100 right through to multi-millions. And that's all you'll pay for. All of the functionality within the system, which we've already discussed, is designed to help you get better response rate, is completely free to use, and again, something that helps us separate ourselves from competitors. So I think that concludes the questions. I hope you've all enjoyed today's webinar. Apologies for the technical issues at the beginning. I look forward to perhaps hearing from you over the next few days and weeks, and wish you all a good weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.